Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Pits on Motorcast. Your host, Dave. I got on line with special guest, Nostalgia Nitro Funny Car driver, Trevor Larkin. How's it going, Trevor?
Good. How you doing?
Pretty good. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So, Trevor, first question. When and how did this all begin for you to get into drag racing?
I'm a second-generation driver. My father was little Tommy Larkin from the Southern California craze of drag racing back in the 60s and 70s. And I just followed in his footsteps. You know, going to the races on the weekend when they were around was my thing to do with Dad. And from a very young age, my father worked with Perdome and McEwen and those guys that I've literally grown up at the track and was that kid that was getting into the tires and putting sockets away, and I was just always just involved in stuff.
Nice. So then you were born out in California?
Born in Southern California, still live here now. Still not too far from where my parents' house is. I'm still in Southern California near Six Flags, Magic Mountain.
So you've been going to Bakersfield for years then, probably, huh?
Oh yes, I've done that drive many times. I've been going there since I was probably 3 or 4.
Right. So what year did you start actually drag racing?
As a driver?
Yeah.
Only about 4 years ago or so. I was originally going to drive a car for a family out of Salt Lake City, Utah, and I went through Doug Foley's drag racing school called Pure Speed out of Las Vegas. That's where they did it. And it travels around just much like the other drag racing schools that are out there. It travels around and makes its home every couple months somewhere else. So I did Doug Foley's school and got my competition license, which moved up to advanced ET and some of that stuff. So that's how I'm driving it's an alcohol funny car that I'm driving right now. Not a nitro car. It used to be a nitro car, but it's not anymore.
Oh, okay.
And I'm driving also a little Ford Topolino altered from a gentleman named oh gosh, I'm drawing a blank. That's embarrassing. Oh my gosh, I'm totally spacing on everyone's names right now.
That's okay. They'll kick your ass later.
Dick Mosley. Dick Mosley's altered and Tony Rebo's funny car, the GTO funny car with the back and black
car. So now the funny car. Any plans to ever go nitro with it?
I'd like to step up. I think this is a fun car to get seat time before I step up and go a little faster. It's just going to take. It's just going to take time and money, really.
Yeah. So now the funny car, you own the car now, or are you driving for someone?
No, I drive for someone. The funny car's a guy named Tony Rebo's out of Tucson, and I'm just the driver for it. I was going to use his car. I used his car a couple years, 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago almost, to just up my license to a advanced DT license. I used his car, and he said, "Yeah, if you want to keep driving, you'd have to, fund the stuff and do that." And I said, "Okay." So we did a few races here and there, and it was fun. I've got a good couple of guys behind me that crew it and stuff, and it was a fun time. I mean, it was a total thing that fell in my lap, right place, right time, and the right people were involved, from the car owner to the crew chief to the guys that were on the crew, Todd and his family that come out and donate their time and just for their love of the sport. That's what people don't remember is people do this stuff. Not a lot of racer crews out there, especially the nostalgia circuit. They're not paid. They're out there, giving up their time and their family's time and everyone else's time just for nothing. Well, for the sheer love of the sport and the family that it creates. Everybody has their normal blood family, then they have their track family, or their kids' sports family, or their work family. They have multiple families, but nothing can compare to the people you meet at a track and they become your family. And nowadays, especially with social media being what it is, you can keep in touch with people and stay in each other's lives so much easier than, I haven't talked to so-and-so in a couple months, or I better check in on Dave, and see what's up. Well,
right.
I can look at you whenever I need to, if I wanted to.
Right.
Keep in touch and keeping tabs with each other, and you develop those friendships and families that, we may not talk every day, but I bet you, we can pick up and left right where we left off.
Yeah, that's what drag racing does. Drag racing creates a big family.
It does.
And like you were saying about the money, a lot of the nostalgia guys I talked to, the crew all work for free. They're voluntary. Yeah.
Yep.
So how many crew members do you have for that car, and who are the crew members that work on the car?
With the back in black car, there's Mike Meitzner, the crew chief, and they're all out of Tucson. And there's Todd DePasquale, I think I'm saying that right, DePasquale, and his wife and two kids, TJ and Chase. Tony Rebu owns the car. And we occasionally have other guys that, Ken Cruz and some other guys that are all out of Tucson and Phoenix-based that come over and volunteer, and only for the sheer friendship of myself and the love of the sport. And I appreciate everything that people do, and it's awesome to be able to come on a radio deal and thank them,
Yeah. So with the back in black car, what's the quickest pass you've made with that car?
Say that again?
With the back in black funny car, what's the quickest pass you've made with that car?
I'm not sure. I don't remember. Somebody asked me that last week, and I really don't know. I want to say it was a low seven something. I'd have to get back to you on that. I apologize. I didn't have that ready like I said I would, but the crew chief keeps a binder of all the slips and the runs and keeps everything cataloged, so we know what we did when and what changes we made and all that kind of stuff.
Right. So now, for that car, does Tony have any sponsors for the car?
I have a whiskey company that has sponsored me, period. For whatever I'm doing, they said we want to be behind Trevor Larkin and his endeavors, and I'm involved in a lot of things, and it's called Cold Cock Whiskey. They're out of San Diego, California, bottled in Florida. And it is the parents of Zyler Spirits, who owns Jägermeister and produces Jägermeister, not whiskey. What is Jägermeister considered? I'm Budweiser, which is a very well-known alcohol brand.
Right.
Southern Sexies is another company that has come on and said, we want to do whatever we need to do with you. I had nothing but the best people that jump on board. And it's a lot of times people go, oh, how are you finding sponsorship for a nostalgia car? It's not the big name cars, it's the getting TV time and the ones that are out there. It's hard to sell yourself when you're like, oh, I can't promise you TV or any of that kind of stuff. But if you give them something to sell, if you sell yourself and show that your desire and your love for this sport, it's not going to be too hard to say, hey, I can give you the coolest advertisement ever, and whether the car is sitting still or going 200 plus miles an hour, this is going to be badass for you, and let me show you. I originally, a couple years back, worked for Larry Dixon Jr., and I was his behind-the-scenes guy that was putting deals together and finding money and all that kind of stuff, and I was paying a gentleman out of, where was he out of? He was out of somewhere in, Texas area, and he did my graphics. He would do renderings of the cars and have actual, if we were going after Kmart, we would put Kmart on the side of the car on a graphic, like a picture of a car. And when I go after these sponsorships, I would say, look, not just, hey, here's what it is, but here's an actual rendering of what it will look like. And they were blown away. Well, they can be blown away and still say, well, this might not be our avenue for advertisement. No problem. You guys ever come to a race, hit me up. You want to do a one or two race deal, we can do that too. The ball's in your court. You guys do what you want. But what I started doing was my own graphics. I bought a Photoshop for Dummies kind of book at a Barnes & Noble and taught myself Photoshop and how to do all this stuff. And it's really, once you learn it, it's not, I don't want to say the word easy, because I don't want to take away from anyone that, really does this and does it for a living. It's not easy, it's manageable, but it's constantly changing. Much like anything else, it's constantly changing. So it's fun to get out there and put together deals and see what's out there. I've been trying to help Alex Miladinovich with his he's stepping up to the big show car. Got some stuff in the works with trying to help him, get some graphics done for him, and going after some sponsorship. I mean, the stuff's out there. You just got to know where to look and how to go about it.
Right. So now, besides driving a nostalgia Aka funny car, you also do some work with Hollywood, right?
I do. I work in television. I work on a show called Superstore. It's on NBC on Thursday nights. Our last episode for this season just aired this past Thursday. And it will come back filming in late July, and you'll start seeing our episodes around October.
Very cool.
The show stars America Ferrera and Ben Feldman and Mark McKinney. Mark McKinney has his he's from the Saturday Night Live Kids in the Hall era. He was the actor in those shows. America Ferrera is a Latina actress that has been in a number of things here and there. And Ben Feldman got his star on I don't know where he got his start, but he was from a show called Mad Men. That was on HBO or one of those Showtime shows.
Now, what kind of show is it?
It's out the audience. It's a 3-camera show that takes place in like what would be like a Walmart, but on our show it's called Cloud9, and it's about a bunch of employees. It has one of the showrunners, one of the producers from The Office, so it has a lot of The Office writers, producers, and even some of the crew actually of the Office.
Right. That sounds cool.
Yeah, pays the bills and keeps a roof over my head.
Yeah. So now, for you, Trevor, what drivers were your biggest inspiration?
My biggest inspiration drivers. Growing up in the 80s, let's see. I gotta say, everyone always loved, the snake, the mongoose. I grew up, my aunt I guess it was dating Tim Gross, who had the skull car, the green and white skull car. But I grew up watching, Perdome in the Pepsi Challenger car. Then he had the Wendy's car, and I used to go to his shop with my dad, which is just over here in San Fernando Valley, right next to Valley Head Service, that does a lot of the nostalgia guys and cackle car guys, cylinder heads and stuff. And they used to have a back alley that guys used to go up and down with motorcycles and try to, get some speed and sound out of stuff. So yeah, the Raymond Beatles, the Don Perdome, those were my heroes of the early 80s growing up in this stuff.
Right. So now that you drive this nostalgia Aka funny car, do you run into any of like legendary guys and get advice from anybody?
That's a great question. I actually had the pleasure of being the stunt driver and the set decorator on the Snake and Mongoose movie. So Don Perdome was on set nearly every day, and Tom McCune was on set, maybe 2 days a week of our 5-week shoot of filming the movie. And it was cool. It was cool to sit there and talk with, be a fly on the wall with Snake and Roland Leon were, sitting around telling stories one day, and I just sat with them, and, a couple pictures were, snapped here and there, because it was such an awesome moment to see, and be a part of it, just hear and listen, and they would talk about, hey, remember when we'd go to this one hotel, you couldn't enter that certain driveway with the trailers, because these guys would, they wouldn't stay at the track, all night like some guys do. They would take their RVs or their trailers and stuff back to the hotel. They would and work on their cars or take the engines, and he said they were cleaning cylinder heads in the bathtub and oil pans and using all the towels from housekeeping to clean up oil stains and stuff that they did. It was just the stories and stuff that I was hearing was just like, wow, that's cool.
Yeah, I never would have knew that kind of stuff if you didn't say it.
Yeah, it's who are your how old are you, sir?
50.
So who are your who are your guys you looked up to and you were a fan of?
Well, my dad started taking me to the tracks when I was about 4 or 5. So Snake, Mongoose, Don Garlett's, Chris Caramasini's, Shirley Muldowney, Jungle Jim. Yeah, all of them.
I went to the Vegas 4 Wide Nationals, and I had a couple friends with me, and we were talking, and Roland Leon was walking by, and he goes, "Hey, kid," and we stopped and talked for a minute, and I introduced him to my friends that were with me, and my friend goes, "Wait, like the driver from the '60s?" Like, and I go, "Yeah, that's him." He goes, "Yeah, that's me." Like, he goes, "You're just walking around here like it's almost sad that almost that the race fans nowadays, they don't know much of the history of the sport.
Right.
They're not fans of the sport forever. They're fans in the last 10, 15, 20 years, whereas they only know the John Forces and the Joe Amatos and then anyone current Schumacher drivers and current Force drivers and stuff. They only know it because of, television, really, They don't know the sport. And here these living legends are walking around, literally rubbing elbows with you, and you're kind of I was in awe that he was just walking around and no one was even saying two things to him. Not that everyone has to be like, "Oh my gosh, Roland," like he's some Hollywood celebrity, but at the same time, it's like there's literally living history walking around the pits and your disposal, and people are they just don't know. I would love if NHRA or who runs it now, Fox Sports, would do not a race, but do like a special segment every week or at every race and highlight some old driver.
Right. That would be great.
I think it'd be cool to just give people more of a history of the sport, Yeah. This week we're going to focus on Tim Gross. Next week we're going to focus, next race is, have 24 preset drivers that are, okay, this week is Joe Amato. Next week is Shirley Muldowney. And you get to give people their little bit of dose of history.
Yeah. Like the Dale Poldy.
Exactly. Dale Poldy's a great guy. He just moved out of California, but he used to live right here. He was, I think, right in the same area he has always been in. Used to buy fuel from the guy. And now you don't. Now there's nobody here local to buy the fuel from. But these guys literally have dissolved into the normal life of living, and it would be beneficial if they did something like that. I had one of my old drivers on my show. His name was Marvin Graham. Well, Marvin Graham, he was an old dragster driver. He drove, what car did he drive? He drove a bunch of cars, but he won. I think he won Indy at one point. He's in the Drag Racing Hall of Fame. And here he is. He was a studio teamster, just blended back into society and was a studio driver, and he drove the stuff with my father back in the studios. And I remember getting in the truck one day and saw it was him, and he goes, "Hey, kid," because he knew who I was, and I knew who he was, obviously, from my father. And I go, "I didn't know you were a driver," and we talked more about it, and the guys that were in the truck with us were like, it was cool just to hear you guys talk. Marvin, he won the 1974 U.S. Nationals, so that was a big deal to win Indy, obviously. So he can add that to his credit right from the beginning of his career.
Yeah, it would be great if NHRA would focus on some of these legends, like also Ace McCulloch.
Yep.
Yeah, I know. It was cool that Joe Walla and Chris had Ace on the show. That was a good show.
Yeah, Joe's a good guy. It's literally about a mile here from my house where they do that show, so I'll stop by once in a while. I did a show about a month ago. It's a good time to just sit back, talk racing, talk rock and roll. We had Jeff and Lisa Deal. We had a bunch of different guys come on. That Daryl Reed from Reed's Rockers. All these guys have so much contribution to the sport, and they've made a living from this stuff just because of other people's need of parts. And that's so admirable by me that I dig it. I wish I could think of something that people are still going to need in the future of the sport that I could come up with and do, you know?
Yeah.
But what's not been thought of in the last 40, 50 years? If you're not heck, the Schumachers and Forces and those kind of big teams, they make their own stuff nowadays.
Right.
And there's so many awesome CNC machine type deals that they have out there that they make. Larry Dixon just did a tour of John Force's shop. You can find it on YouTube. I forget what it looks like or what it's called. But he did a tour of John Force's indie shop, and it is so big. The guys that work there, they literally use razor scooters to get around the building. They'll go from one side to the other, and I'm trying to find it right now while I'm looking here. Gosh, I don't know what it's listed under, but it's pretty cool. If you can find it, I may find it. Put it on my page, on my fan page. I have a racing Facebook. It's just Trevor Larkin FC for Funny Car, and that's where I keep the updates for all my racing endeavors and that kind of stuff. A lot of people that try to friend request me, I try to say, hey, thanks for the interest, but do you mind following my other page and not my personal page? That way, if I'm out, doing something with my family, I don't need people going, oh, how was Disneyland, or how was this? I'd rather keep the race fans in one area, and right. I'm trying to do that. It's not working very well, but I'm trying.
Yeah.
So people are gonna do what they want.
So what's your opinion? What's your opinion on NHRA these days? Do you think they're too corporate now?
I do. Without shooting myself in the foot here, I think that the Whit Bazemores and the guys that have ideas on how to help the sport and bring back old school racing are just being kind of pushed. They don't want make it back into a race. It's just the cars are almost going too fast. It's over in under 4 seconds, and heck, the drivers, they point it and they mash the throttle, and they're just along for the ride. There's no driving to it. Bring back the old burnouts. Bring back those long, smoky burnouts that John Force made so popular in the 80s and earlier. I used to totally dig back as a kid. When I was in high school, I was a film student, and I would check out a camera, film camera, on the weekend. I knew I was going to the races, and would get down to like 1,000-foot area because they were still running quarter mile, and I would love when Al Hoffman and John Force would line up for qualifying side by side, or Dean Scusa and Chuck Etchells, they would do the longest, almost 1,000-foot burnouts. And I remember just being, man, that is bitching,
Right.
They're backing up in their own smoke. It's just smoky for the next minute and a half before they get ready to run. I dug that. That's what was my my vice. I wanted to be a funny car driver. I wanted to drive something, you know?
Yeah, just like we were talking about Snake and Mongoose there. They used to do the long burnouts from Snake and Mongoose and the dry hopping.
Right. Now, back before the days of reversers, they would do the burnout, and then they'd have to have guys hop over the wall, their crew guys, hop over the wall and push/pull the car back. You know, guys would hold the clutch in, and then, you know, they'd get the car moving backwards and start pushing on the hat, the injector hat, or the roll cage, or whatever they could actually push on to basically go backwards. And that would be cool too if they did something in the Bakersfield races or some type of nostalgia race, or hey, NHRA, let's put on a little show and show people how it used to be, and do that. Totally stage it, make it like a little scene, and say, guess what, race fans, you're in for a treat. The Greer Black and Perdome car and the Yeaco Plymouth car are going to come out and do a side-by-side burnouts, and watch this. Just watch this. That would be so cool to have guys hop the wall, push everybody back, let them do their thing, and then just do the old school flights where they would you know what I mean, where they go down the track and they just basically smoke the tires the whole way on the track.
Yeah.
Because they didn't have the clutch, you know, slippage and stuff that they have now.
Yeah, I remember when my dad first started taking me to drag racing, when the dragsters and the funny cars did the long burnout, he would tell me they got to warm up the tires, so they need to do the long burnouts to warm up those tires.
Well, the tires have changed in general too. The normal race fan isn't you know, too much into what the behind the scenes of a lot of stuff, because really people only know what the TV coverage shows them. They're not reading a ton of articles, or they're not keeping up with all the different updates, rule updates, or any of that kind of stuff that people, that NHRA and race fans are missing not missing. What was I saying? The tires are different than they were, heck, even 5 years ago, 10 years ago. But the old school tires from 10, 15 years ago, they withheld a lot more, and they had a lot more strength to them. I guess that's what I'm hearing and understanding from people that are like tire guys on different teams. That's why you're seeing a lot more tire failure these days in the past, 5 to 6 years. Tires are letting go. They're having a lot less strength to them, I guess is the word. I'm not sure if the word is strength, but they're just made a lot different nowadays. The rubber's different.
Right.
So a lot of the older dragsters, like the nostalgia dragsters, are running like Hoosiers and M&H's, because that's an old tire that's been pretty consistent and staying the same.
Yeah, it was cool back in the day, though, seeing the dragsters do the big burnouts and the tires would expand and get real big.
Yep.
Yeah. So now for you, Trevor, getting in the back in black funny car for the first time, how was it getting behind the wheel of a funny car for the first time ever?
It was a surreal experience. I've been in funny cars, obviously, like when I did the Snake and Mongoose movie, and then getting fitted for the car I was going to drive in Salt Lake, in Utah, not Salt Lake, St. George. And I got in the car when I first got fitted, when I got to Tucson to drive the car. And when I got in it, obviously the body wasn't on. So once we got to the track and put the body on and was ready to go for the licensing, I literally, once they shut the body, it was like, whoa. Whoa, it was a surreal moment that I just sat there for a second, and before I moved forward into the burnout box, because here it was, everything I've been ever dreaming and hoping as a younger child up until that time. Here it is. Now the engine's running, and my nerves were pumping. My pulse was pounding out of my throat and my chest, and you didn't know what was going to happen. Because I'm licensing, and this is my first time driving this guy's car, and it was awesome. It was awesome. Once that body shuts down, it was business.
Yep, you're in the coffin.
Yep.
So now, Trevor, I'm going to ask you a few fun questions before we finish up this interview. Now,
okay.
What hobbies do you have outside of drag racing and the movie business?
I'm an avid volleyball player. I played all through high school and junior college. I was a girls' high school coach. People don't know that. I coached girls' JV and varsity men's at local high schools here in Santa Clarita. Just that kind of, not a ton more. I stick to racing, and I have a 3-year-old niece who I adore, and if I can steal her for a couple days here, a couple hours here, and that kind of stuff, I will. It's about making memories. I'm less of a collector of stuff I don't need anymore, because I was the kind of guy that if I wanted, I went and bought it, which made it very hard to shop for me when it came time to do anything for events or anything, like birthdays and Christmas. What do you want for birthday? I don't know. What do you want for Christmas? I don't know, because I always go buy it. So it's hard to shop for me.
Yeah, that's the way it is with a lot of people. That's why they just say, just get them a gift card.
Yeah. But I play volleyball. I love bowling. I hate to say it. Love bowling. I have my dad's cackle car, which I take out. Mike Halstead tunes that car. He's the reason that car has the life it has now, because I met Mike a couple years back at a car show. I knew who he was. He knew who I was, but this is our first, hey, man, good to see you. What are you doing? No, I don't live far from here. He goes, we drove out from where they lived at the time to do this car show, but he brought his alcohol funny car out, and I don't think his daughter was driving the junior dragster yet. We got talking. He goes, "Where's your car? Is it here?" I said, "No, I need some stuff done to it." And the guy who was helping me isn't helping me anymore, and he just the good of this guy's heart, man. He said, "I can help you. Let's do it. Let's get your dad's car needs to be back out there. Let's get it out there." And that was 4 or 5 years ago now. And he's been him, Tracy, Michaela, and Maddie has all been a huge part in my track family and helping me get back out there, and just the support. Like I said at the top of the show, it's like the family you make and the memories you make with people at these races, car shows, barbecues, gatherings, whatever it is, but it's all come from people you've met at the track. It's not replaceable.
Yeah, so many guys I interview have mentioned Michael Hofstad.
Yeah. The guy drives so many cars. If you get him on the show, you'd be a lucky guy.
I had him on already.
Oh, you have? Okay, cool. Perfect.
Yeah, before the March meet.
Nice.
And so now, for you, what's your favorite food to eat?
What's my favorite what?
Favorite food?
Favorite food? Oh, jeez. I'm a pizza guy. It's easy, it's quick, and it's literally down the street. And I'm always the guy that I tip well. The guys show up, and I'm usually out in my garage working on something, or I'm the guy with the race cars that are outside. So there's, most pizza people, they drop the pizza off and they're out. Well, now when they come here, they hang out for 5 minutes or so and want to take a picture, and I dig it.
What's your favorite beverage?
Jeez. I'm a Dr. Pepper guy. Hate to say it, I drink way too many Dr. Peppers, which probably explains a lot in my world too, but I'm a Dr. Pepper guy.
Now, how about alcohol?
So pizza and soda.
How about alcohol? You drink alcohol?
Not just because they're a sponsor, but Cold Cock whiskey is my new favorite thing. They gave me a shot dispenser for my house, like bars have, and it's pretty good. There's a lot of different not formulas. What's the word? Recipes, so to say, on the Cold Cock whiskey website of different drinks you can make with their whiskey, and it's amazing.
What's your favorite movie of all time?
The Fugitive.
Is that Harrison Ford?
Harrison Ford. It was my project in film school. I had to take one scene and give it a shot-by-shot breakdown while watching it, and I did that one as a last-minute fill-in for the movie I was going to do, and I watched it probably 3 times in one day, and I was like, man, this movie's amazing. I couldn't just pick one scene to break down.
So what's your favorite music?
Country music. Where everyone's happy and they love to... Country music is so different nowadays, just in general. It used to be... What's the joke? What do you get when you play a country song backwards? You get your dog back, you get your house back.
Right, I heard that one.
Country music's changed so much now. It's more of like a rock, dancing. Like you go to country clubs and everyone's dancing. Everyone's happy. Everybody loves to be there. They just, it's a different vibe, a different following, than, nothing against rap, metal, or any other stuff, but that's, your taste is your taste. But I find the good old boy American style stuff is so much different than when you go to a country concert than anything else. Right. And I work in country music when I'm not working in Hollywood for a country artist and do that kind of stuff, and it's amazing the different vibe and feel you get from it all.
Right. So now, Trevor, I want to thank you for your time for an interview. You want to give some plugs for all your sites where people can find out where you're going to be racing and all that stuff now?
As soon as we just got a new block, a new billet block for the funny car from Jake Sanders, who drives the Mr. Explosive nostalgia car. So that's arriving in Tucson today or tomorrow. So that car will be back out there very soon. I'm staying with Dick Mosley on the NE3 Altered, the Ford Topolino, and that races the ANRA series that Butch Hendricks puts on. That races in Bakersfield. Again, they can follow on Facebook or Twitter. It's Trevor Larkin, Larkin Racing. If you follow on Facebook, it's Trevor Larkin FC. I keep all my stuff somewhat updated, and